everyone, welcome back to the BentBox Comics YouTube channel. My name is Chris. Another week has passed and it is Friday again, and we have some cool updates for you. One of the updates involves a series that's on our Global Comics called BentBox Shorts. Now, if you're not familiar with this series of ours, I would highly recommend going and checking it out. It's free to read. We have a handful of releases on this specific series. Now, the series itself is a little bit of a experimental type of a series specifically for this platform. We love the idea of short stories, specifically similar to like an anthology or something of that nature. And there's a lot of creators out there that are extremely talented that don't have a home to put their really cool and unique short story. Whether it was originally meant for an anthology that never actually came to be, or it was originally used as a pitch for an anthology and then was denied, there's a lot of really cool stuff out there, and we've seen some creators, frustrated that they don't have a place to put their stuff other than their typical Instagram or ArtStation page. So we have the idea of creating something called BentBox Shorts. It's a free-to-read series that will be featuring up-and-coming creators, artists, writers, letterers, everything of the like, in a way to hopefully get more eyes on their project and on their creative ability. And so, since we recently reached 600 followers, which is insane, and we've been snowballing so far for a while now, and I'm just extremely thankful for everyone who's enjoyed our books and has come to check them out and has stayed for all of them. Thanks so much. I hope we can bring you many, many more to come. But as a reward for helping us get to this milestone, we went ahead and released the brand new BentBox short, Seeds of Osiris. Seeds of Osiris by Christopher Shipe is his first book. So what we put on there is actually the first chapter of this unique series that he's bringing to life, that he's written, working with a very talented artist. All of that will be on there, so you can kind of, once you get through the book, you can kind of see the credits, maybe go make sure you follow their Instagram handle and their Twitter and everything like that. That way you can hopefully support these creators in the future. But it's about this Earth-born kid named Nova that has been living on the space station for many, many years. And that's kind of where it sets off, and we are thrown into this nightmare past of why she is now living in the space station. Not to really give too much away, obviously, and this is a bit of a preview to his future plans for the project, but please go check out this book, check out this short, give it a read. As soon as you're done, make sure you follow the creators, and that way you're supporting indies as best as you can. After you're done with that, make sure you go check out all the other little shorts that we have on there. We have some really cool, unique stories from some people that might be familiar to you, especially if you've read any other BentBox comics, like John Orozco from Orium #1. Orium #2 is almost out, by the way, or almost ready. Super excited for that. I've seen pages, and probably most of you have too, and it looks sick. So really excited for that. Along with like a Lovecraftian Cthulhu adventure by this artist named Matthew Magny. Really highly recommend going and checking him out on Instagram, and I don't think he's on Twitter, but he's on TikTok. He's posting a lot of really cool content there, showing off his very unique style, which is one of the reasons why I reached out to him and offered him a spot on BentBox Shorts. So we have a ton of cool content on there, really cool stories that I think you would all enjoy a lot. So do us a favor and go check it out. It's free. If you got, 30 minutes today on your lunch break, let's kill that real easy with some cool books. Per the norm, the link will be down in the description below. But, BentBox Comics pretty much everywhere. But if you're on Global Comics, just type in BentBox Comics and you'll see all the goods. And with that out of the way, it's time we talk about our topic of the day, which is AI again. Why not? I know I kind of hate it and don't feel like talking about it too, but here we are. So the main reason I'm bringing this up is because I actually had a very interesting conversation with an artist, an older artist, at a con over the weekend, Charlie's Epic Con. So this artist, I'm not really gonna dox him or give his name out, but then again, if you were there, you'd probably know who I'm talking about. Or if you are familiar with Google, you could probably figure it out. But he was an older gentleman who apparently was one of the original artists that dealt with a lot of promotional material, box art, poster art for Transformers way back in the day. and some even more modern. But I met him at the con. I kind of felt bad because at first he said, no, my name's so-and-so. You might know me. And I had to sit there and calculate in my head whether or not I wanted to lie to this man. And I chose not to lie, and I was like, no idea who you are. But done politely and just asked, oh, no, what do you do? Was easy enough for him to show me his table, check out some of his stuff. Now I'm a little more familiar with him and his work. He then followed me back to my table and saw all of the really amazing artwork that we feature here at BentBox, from Gabriel Fonseca to Gabriel Fonseca, and then we used Gabriel Fonseca again. Just kidding. We have a bunch of really great artists, and obviously they're all featured on our website. But he came by, looked at all of them, was, as much as he would admit, blown away by it, said it all looked really great. Then that shifted the conversation into, so what do you think of AI art? Pretty crazy, right? And I just sat there with a little smirk on my face because I wasn't sure where this was going to go. Actually, no. I was fairly certain where this was going to go, but it did not go there. If you would have said, bet your life savings on whether or not this guy is a fan of AI art or not, I would have lost everything. He immediately cuts me off and starts saying how much he enjoys AI art. Or at least he sees it for the potential that it has, and he doesn't understand why everyone's so worried. Now, this caught me off guard, but I am media trained, and so I was able to kind of just field his questions and talk to him for a bit about the subject, which was just really bizarre, but it was very interesting. So I figured I would kind of pitch some questions to you guys that we kind of talked about. It was cool though, but might as well get your guys' opinion. So the main point of his argument was he is finding a way to use AI art, whether it be Midjourney, the ChatGPT, OpenAI stuff, a bunch of different things. He actually named off some I've never even heard of. So he's using these as a tool, and this is what he kept saying, as a tool. And it was an interesting conversation because I kind of saw where he was coming from, and I've also had similar thoughts. But he said, I'm able to feed it references to my own art. I'm able to be like, hey, here are some of my original drawings. Here's the backgrounds I've done. Here's the characters I've done. Now, I use the program to help me make an original piece that I don't necessarily have all the time for. So he'll use it mainly for like background work, basically kind of like composition work, getting characters into place. And then he said he'll take it, put it into Photoshop, tweak it, and make it more accurate and more perfect based on his actual style. And then he's got his final piece. And that was kind of, I didn't really know what to say to that because he was quite literally using AI art for what I can only call like the most ethical version of AI art, which is just, hey, here's my style. I really want to make this large piece, and it's going to take me hours upon hours to get this done. But because I've already done it before, or at least similar versions of this before, I'm going to use a computer to help me streamline that process. It's such a weird gray area. Then he went on to show me this video he made on some AI platform. Don't remember what it is, but more of one of the like motion graphic ones that imitates animation. And he said, my it was either his granddaughter or daughter, but had an idea for a book, and it was a kind of like a children's fairy tale book with like little dolls and little girls in dresses and stuff like that. Very cutesy. And so he was able to create a 2-minute long like trailer, proof of concept for this like show, I guess. I'm not really sure how to put that, but he showed it to me, and what kicked that off was me saying, the issue I'm having right now with AI art, other than the ethical part of it, is that I can just spot it from a mile away and it looks soulless and it's ugly, and I'm so disinterested. Obviously, we've had this discussion in previous videos about whether or not that will apply to the general public, but just as a creative, no interest at all. And that's what led him into showing me this video that he made that I wish he wouldn't have said. I was like, what do you think of this? I would have probably clocked it as AI before he even pulled it up, because that's how it was going. But immediately it's that just like uncanny valley, the mouths don't quite work right, the animation is semi-smooth. I was just being frank with him. I was like, well, I mean, I can tell that's AI immediately. And he goes, well, that's because I told you it was AI. I was like, no, I can tell. I mean, being a creative, you have an eye for it. You can see it. That is AI. Very plain and simple. He conceded that a little bit and said, yeah, but give it 2 years. In 2 years, look at this. Look what it used to be. It used to be trash. Now I can compete with Pixar. I could, like, in 2 years, there's no way I would ever be able to create my own movie, like feature film. But now I can actually be a competitor with Pixar or Disney or, Nickelodeon, any of these big name publishing studios that can hire hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of artists. And I was sympathetic to his reasoning, and I was like, I get it. I was like, yeah, I have tons of ideas. I mean, I would love to make artificial into an animated movie or TV show similar to like Invincible. It'd be incredible. And the idea that I could potentially do that on my own is obviously intriguing, or at least tempting to, just at a base level. But I gave him the argument of like, okay, well, what about those animators that you are competing against now, just as a solo guy? But what if this form of technology works its way into Pixar? Because now Pixar is just going to be a money-making machine where it doesn't need those animators. Now they're without a job. And I mean, honestly, his reasoning made consistent sense. He said, then I have all the more reason to use it if they're using it too. So it just becomes this, I don't know, just this, dragon eating its tail, and it's just constant set in motion terror show that I'm not super thrilled about for the future. But that was one creator's view of it, an old school artist who no offense to you if you see this, I just assumed you were scared of your cell phone. You were an older gentleman. So I'm like, oh wow, he knew so much more about AI art than I did. He knew an insane amount. He started like just rambling on and on. I was like, oh wow, you've really dug deep into this, which was fascinating to see. I haven't seen that very often within the art community. And that leads me to my thought. I had a thought that I actually kind of interjected into the conversation for a brief moment. He didn't really track it or say it was an important thought, so that made me feel like crap. But I thought it'd be worth enough to make a whole video on, so here we are. That, and I have really nothing else to talk about at the moment. What if we get to a point with AI art where, and I don't even know how to really verbalize this thought super well, so feel free in the comments below to help me out. But what if we get to a point with some form of AI art engine where it becomes similar to Photoshop or any kind of creative tool, Clip Studio, that what it ends up being is simply a tool? And by that I mean we remove the issue that the majority of people have with it at the moment, which is that it's stealing from other people's art styles. We saw this with Studio Ghibli. We've seen it with a ton of other things, The Simpsons. It's insane. But I mean, that's just what it's meant to do. It's a generative AI machine. It's meant to bring in information and be able to regurgitate it out. But if we get to a point where potentially it's just a paid program, and the reason why I'm saying we remove the unethical part of it, where it's stealing from people's art, is that once the machine has been trained well enough to be able to imitate images, styles, understand composition and facial expressions, once it gets sophisticated enough to be an actual usable tool, what if there was a way to where we had it locked to only the user? And what I mean by that is the specific artist using it. So say Jim Lee, or I'll just use Gabriel Fonseca. Say Gabriel has an insane amount of work in front of him because he's very talented and he deserves to have an insane amount of work in front of him. Highly recommend going and following him on all of the things, including buying some of his books that he made for us. But imagine Gabriel was able to go, okay, I have an insane amount of backgrounds I have to create. I have to make this like post-apocalyptic San Francisco skyline here for this page. I have to make this full spread here of this underground, whatever you want it to be. I have to make this zoo here. I have to make this here. This beautiful, cherry blossom tree for like blossom. All these background areas. What if there was a way for him to just import his own style, it's able to read that style and assist him in creating these compositions. Now, he is not using another person's style, he's just simply using his own. I have no idea how this would work logistically. So I am not by any means saying that I am smart or anything. I'm just saying it was one of those flash in the pan ideas of, oh, you're using it as a tool. You're not the regular Joe Schmo who wants to see his family as Studio Ghibli. Or the studio exec who's like, you know what, we really don't need to pay all these animators. Let's just have it animated in the Pixar style, yada, yada, yada. And then now a bunch of people are out of a job. No, instead it's completely locked to an artist. Don't know how that would work. But some way or fashion. Now, obviously, if it can find a way to where make this page in Jim Lee's style, and it understands Jim Lee's style, that means that if Chris O'Hara wanted to make this page in Jim Lee's style, it would be restricted or not allowed due to the fact that I have not been verified as Jim Lee. Once again, don't know how this would work, but I thought it might be an interesting thought exercise. So in the near future, so let's say this nightmare that we're going through eventually comes to an end, and the generative AI has been trained to a point where it's just insanely sophisticated. You cannot tell that it's AI. And then after that, it's been trained, basically just building the building blocks for this program. It becomes an ethical tool for artists. That would be kind of interesting. That's something I'm potentially interested in. I don't know what the logistics, once again, don't know what the logistics would be of that, but I'm throwing it out to you guys. What do you guys think? And the main reason why we're talking about this is AI's here. It's here to stay. People are going to use it. And they're going to use it like crazy. They already said that, like ChatGPT or OpenAI already said that the Studio Ghibli thing almost fried their servers, which did run a thought through my head that maybe we should just keep generating as much as possible and see if we can have it burn to the ground. Work against itself. Wasn't going to happen, but, a man can dream. So instead, this pie in the sky idea of maybe one day it'll actually work out and not steal jobs from artists, but rather help them be more productive and creative. Now, I know I'm about to be crucified for even saying there's a potential for AI art to be helpful or a good thing. I'm not even really saying that. I'm just saying this is kind of an interesting idea, at least in my twisted brain. So, other creators out there, other artists, Joe Schmo, if you're watching, Mr. Schmo, excuse me, put some respect on your name. Feel free to comment below and let me know what you think of this idea or the premise of AI art becoming a tool for creators, for actual artists, not necessarily taking away jobs, but just becoming a more utilized tool for that specific artist. I do not plan to interact a ton with you guys in the comments because I know how comments are, but I would just love to see the discourse. So have at it. And please be gentle, be nice. Don't be AI bro or art bro or whatever. Just chill and just let's talk about stuff, especially when it's just we're all having to deal with this, all of us. Be sympathetic to the artist who's scared for his job. Artists, be sympathetic to the guy who is lazy and never picked up a pencil. That was a little bit of bias. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for hanging out on another Friday. Please like, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff to help us grow our YouTube channel, to help us grow our follower count, to get these fun little videos that hopefully bridge gaps. They're not divisive, they're not drama bait. It's just us kind of hanging out and having a conversation about comics and art in general. And keep an eye out for more posts about Con at the Arcade coming up at the end of the month. Extremely excited. We're fully booked. It's going to be a huge event. And I just hope if you're in the Southwest Florida, come hang out with us. You're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be a ton of fun. And if you're not in Southwest Florida, but you know someone in Southwest Florida, shoot them a DM and say, hey, you better be here on April 26th. All right, everybody. And as I say at the end of every single Kickstarter post for the Artificial series, stay human.